Yeah, first off, thank you all for being here. Appreciate you taking the time to come spend a little time with us and learn a little bit about our season. It's hard to believe that we're going into our fourth season. Been here 5-6 years now. So, I mean, time really does fly. But very excited about what we have in this 2019 year. And, you know, coming off of a season that was probably one of the most challenging that I've been associated with, just from an injury standpoint at one position. Don't know that I've ever played 6 quarterbacks in one season. And to then play, you know, a guy who was playing defense for a little bit, and a guy who was playing running back, and a guy who was playing wide receiver. So it was very interesting for us, but I felt like through all that, and one of the things we've really challenged our team with is until our last game, which, you know, not very pleased with, you know, how we played that complete game. But the previous 10 games, and we were 5-1 at one point in time, ranked in the top 10. The previous 10 games that we played, I've told our guys, really, we were within 40 minutes of either being tied or, you know, a touchdown down with 10 minutes to go in every one of those games. And so what we have really focused on since the season ended was trying to find those 40 minutes and really trying to find a way to put ourselves in a position where when we got in a close game this year, we really had an answer for it. And I've been very pleased. It started in spring. We brought in a handful of guys to add some quality depth to our program. They've done a great job, but really the guys who have made this go really from day one, and we've got 3 of our you know, seniors who have been in the program from the beginning that you're going to have an opportunity to hear from later. Those have been the guys that have kept this moving in the right direction. I think to a man, every player, every coach, every person associated with our program, not satisfied with what took place in 2018. But with that being said, you know, we're a third-year program that 6-5 is disappointing. We like those expectations. We really do. And as Dr. Saunders mentioned, you know, 14 of the 17 teams made it to the postseason. We're disappointed we're not one of those, but we've got, you know, sights for 2019 to be a better football team and to improve upon that. So when we came to the University of West Florida, and as my staff has changed a little bit here over the years, you know, we knew what we were stepping into. Dr. Saunders has set the table for our programs to be at the highest level. Dave Scott has, you know, seen numerous national champions and runner-ups and conference championships. And so we understand that, and we embrace that, and we're excited about that. So 2019, we're in day, we just finished practice 7. Excited about what we've been able to get done. It is hot, as everyone knows who lives in the Panhandle, and we don't see it getting any cooler, but our guys have handled it well. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Pete, when you look at the 40 minutes and finding those 40 minutes, when you kind of analyze the year and some of the games that were competitive that got away, what can you put a handle on the 2, 3, 4 points?
Yeah, I think it really, I mean, from an offensive standpoint, you're going to see turnovers at terrible times in the fourth quarter. Really, I think 2 of those losses, we had pick sixes that really we can control that. I think you're going to see a missed tackle on defense or a misalignment somewhere. And so we've really just been focusing on the little aspects that are going to keep us in a game. And then going back earlier in the game, what opportunities did we miss? Because there were some games they were tied at that place, but we could have been up by 10 or we could have been up by 14 had we taken care of business a little better in the first quarter, second quarter, and third quarter. So it's really a general awareness by our entire group of, you know, how close we are, what needs to take place, and then how we need to respond to it.
You talk about quarterbacks, you know, this year with the guys you brought in, Sam coming back, how comfortable do you feel about that level?
Yeah, much different than 1 year ago. You know, where we really brought Sam in to see if he could provide some depth for us, and then obviously after the 3rd series, I think it was, you know, he became our starter. So we sit here right now. Sam Vaughn comes off of Tommy John surgery, and the fact that he's practicing with us and playing well is really minor miracle having that thing done in November. But he got ahead of schedule. He rehabbed, worked very well and hard to do that. J.C. Robles came in. He transferred in from Colorado State. He came in and was really with us in spring ball, had a great opportunity to learn the offense, excited about what he's been able to do so far. And then Austin Reed would be the third guy who I think is in this mix. Austin's a guy, that we knew about in high school, ended up going to Southern Illinois, came back after 1 year. Those three guys have really had great competition. And I would say this, Corey Welsher committed to us in our summer camp before his senior season. And he stayed committed to us, got offers from other places. He stayed committed to us. Any other year, we'd probably be talking about him, but he's just got three older guys in front of him that are playing at a high level. So it's the deepest we've ever been, which, again, last year showed that you needed to have that. And it's also the most competitive that we've had. And those guys are making some really good throws, and I think it's making our offense better, making our defense better as well.
You've got some athletic quarterbacks. Obviously we know it's Sam can do, but you also, in the mix, you've got some guys who maybe can do some things in that position that you haven't had. So how's that changed what you're able to do out there?
Okay, first off, be easy. Caleb Nobles is in the house, as a coach now, and so we're not referring to 16 when quarterback couldn't run at all or anything. No, that's not what you're referring to at all, right? Yeah, no, I understand it. Yeah, it really gives us a little more options, and it gives, I think, to spread the defense a little thinner when that guy can pull and take off and run and do some things. And we saw that. We've seen that really. We've had some not live drives, we've had some drive scenarios. And, our quarterbacks have just taken off and run and gotten 5, 6 yards, 10-yard pops where, the quarterbacks that we've had, Mike and Caleb prior, they probably would have sat in the pocket a little longer and see if they could have thrown the ball downfield. So it's a nice element, and it's playing itself out pretty well right now. And just adding to, keeping drives alive. One of the things we want to do is continue to stay on the field as an offense. The longer we're on the field, the more first downs we get, the more points we're going to score, and the less our defense has to play.
Some of the foundational players in this program, like Chris Ford and Antoine Griffin, they've all moved on. How do you transition to those next group of guys?
No, it's a great question, and there's really, two interesting things. Antoine Griffin is the only guy really. Antoine Griffin and Ishmaro are the only guys that have ever returned a punt for us. Okay, so in the history of the program, no one else has returned a punt. So you got that. You can say that for a little bit. So that's a transition right there. Chris Schwartz, all-time leading rusher. 3 years in a row. So those are two big areas that we have to address. We've got guys that are obviously working into that. Jervon Newton has really stepped up and established himself as, a very good running back right now. We got about 4 other guys that are competing for that position as we sit here. Anthony Johnson, we were hoping to be one of those guys, but he's been banged up a little bit, and we really haven't seen, it was kind of the same thing in spring and same thing fall camp, really haven't seen, and he's out right now, so don't know where he's going to fit in until we get him healthy.
Coach, talk a little bit about the challenge of replacing 7 starters on defense.
It's huge, and that's a lot of people, and I think Coach Doolin's in here. I think we talked about that, the productivity. There were a lot of tackles that are gone. Good news is we got a lot of guys back as well that have played a lot of football for us, and I think we got the right mix of transfers in there. And so when you come watch us play, whether that's going to be the Thursday night scrimmage at Penn Air Field, or if you're going to watch us in our first home game down at Blue Wahoo Stadium, I think you're going to see the size of our defensive line it'll be the first thing that probably sticks out to you. And so with who we lost, they were very productive for us, but who we've added, I feel like we've got an opportunity to really take 2 steps forward and continue to grow. And the guys that we have back as well, we got an Andre Duncombe, we got a Martez Wheeler, we got a Josh Smiley, we got a Trent Archie, we got a Marcus Clayton. We've got guys that have played a lot of productive football for us, and you throw them in the mix with who we've brought in. I'm really excited to watch this defense play. I've seen it now, and as, you know, I'm on the offensive side of the ball. I've seen him now for 7 days. I'm really looking forward to seeing him against somebody else so that we can play against somebody else as well. So they're doing a good job.
Coach, Austin Williams went from being one of the better kickers in the nation to really struggling last season. What have you seen out of him at practice in terms of getting better and improving going into this season?
Yeah, he really hit a slump. I mean, second half of the season, and he'll be the first to tell you. I mean, he was really bad. I think he started off 10 out of 12, and we felt like we were right where we picked up. And really, conversation with him, and Austin's probably one of the most competitive guys that I've ever seen who's a kicker. And, you know, when the season ended, the conversation was, okay, the last half was terrible. We got to fix it. And he's like, Coach, I'm going to take 2 weeks off. I'm going to try to forget everything I changed in the last half and then come back after Christmas and start over. And that's really where he's been. And I think what I see out of him, and we ended Saturday's scrimmage, or we ended Saturday's field goal time with him hitting, I think, a 48-yarder the way we saw him hit it against FIT in 2017. So he's fixed the problems. He's got to stay true to that. But we're seeing the ball pop off his foot the way we did because, you know, part of our demise in 18 at the end was when we were counting on points, we weren't getting points. And again, I think he went 2 for 10 there down the stretch, which those were guaranteed points for us in 2017.
How important is it going to be for you to get off to a fast start?
Well, I think it's huge. I think it's crucial. Because we open up on a Thursday night against the team that, you know, they came down here last year. I think they felt like they could have won that game. We go to their place where traditionally Carson Newman at home has been one of the better Division II football teams over the course of time. We feel like that's a great test. And then we start conference play, the next week in the middle of the day. It's an afternoon game at Shorter. So we've really set our sights week 1, playing great football, and then building on that. And, as we look at it, I think last year there were some guys that maybe their eyes were a little further down the schedule than it should have been. You know, we're talking about what we got to do game 1, game 2. This year's schedule, I do think, is, it sets up nicely. We would love another home game, and as you know, Dave Scott will attest. I mean, trying to find games is not the easiest thing to do, but we'd love another home game. But we took the bye week because we were only offered away games. We took the bye week there in the middle of the season, and we think it's going to pay dividends for us as we get that last 5-game stretch as well.
What's the difference, the last 5 compared to the first 5? Playing, during the course of the season, how you guys, get you guys prepared and ready for that run when it does come.
Yeah, I think, the Gulf South Conference, I think it's the only conference, I don't know the complete history of D2 football back in the 70s, but I know from the 80s on, I think the Gulf South Conference is the only conference to have 3 teams play in the national championship 3 consecutive years and not be the same team. Grand Valley's played in it 3 years in a row. Northwest Missouri's played in it 3 years in a row. North Alabama won it 3 years in a row. But we had North Alabama, University of West Florida, and Valdosta State 3 years in a row from our conference playing the national championship game. So our guys know that anybody in our conference can be. Nobody picked us to do anything. So who's that this year? Who is that team? So we know that, no matter what this schedule looks like, and it's going to rotate every couple of years, we got to be dialed in and week out when it comes to Gulf South Conference play. And again, we feel like it's the hardest conference in the country, and we feel like we know that, if our weak teams, are on, they're pretty good. And every coach that I've talked to that has watched our conference or had to play interconference games, they're like, okay, our conference, we got some strong teams at the top, but I don't think anybody has what we have, 1 through 9, with the type of competition that we generate. So preparing for it, that's what we're doing right now, and that's, we know that week in and week out we're going to be tested.
Coach, with fall practice starting and with the departure of Mike Beaudry, which quarterback has really assumed that leadership role of the offense?
Yeah, I think right now I'd say that we have great competition with those 3, with J.C. Robles, Sam Vaughn, Austin Reed. And over the course of the last 3 practices, I believe it is, we've given each one of them different opportunities to kind of showcase what they're capable of doing, and the competition continues tomorrow.
Who defensively, who impressed you? I mean, who
Yeah,
are you counting on?
there's a lot of them, really. And DeAnthony Bell, who came and joined us in the spring, he's one of them. And, he's really established himself in the spring as what I think will be, one of the better secondaries around. He's come in and played very well. TJ Williams has played well at corner for us. Sherrod Oliver played as a true freshman last year, but he's played very good for us now, more in a prominent role. We brought in Chandler Ferguson as a linebacker, DeMarco Artis as a linebacker, and Kendrick Bradley as a linebacker. Those guys, all three transfers, have really, in 7 days, established themselves, playing very well with the mix of guys that we have. D. Brown at safety, I think. D. Givens at corner. DeMonier. I mean, we've just got some guys that are probably more athletic than we've had. And again, I said this is the biggest defensive line that we've had. Ian Bush, as a senior from Georgia Southern, has come in and played very, very well. Matt Gotel, a junior college transfer, has really established himself. Miles Myers, TJ Kelly, Brandon Delgado. I mean, we just have some size on the defensive line that we haven't. A guy we redshirted last year who had a very productive spring for us, great summer, Quentin Peoples. And so, again, for me to mention 6D linemen right there, I mean, I've never really been able to do that. And Coach Crutch, all those guys are 270 plus. Quentin might be a little below that, but all those guys are 270 plus, and a handful of them are 300-pounders as well. So it's a different looking group. And what happens now is you've got those big bodies in there, okay? Brandon Pennerton, also another defensive lineman. There's number 7. When you have those guys in there, now it takes the O-line a little longer to get off, and now all of a sudden you got an Andre Duncombe flying up and going because the O-line can't get to him. Now you got a Chandler Ferguson or a Martez Wheeler or a Josh Smiley hitting that thing, a Trent Archie coming off the edge. So, I mean, it has really changed the complexion, I think, of what we're doing and what takes place. And, we're 7 days in. We got work to do, and, we're going to go from here and start grading film of the practice this morning. But I really believe it's the deepest group that we've ever had. Now they got to put it all together and play the way I think they're capable of.
How about offensive line? I think you got a lot of returning talent there.
We do, and our starting 5, I mean, very excited about them. Devin Gibson in the middle of that, Joe Wintrick to his left, and Mike Dilla to his right, Sam Antoine, at left tackle, and Ethan Cruz at right tackle. Ethan played a lot of football for us, redshirted last year. We think our top 5 really is a solid group. And so the second group, developing some guys that we redshirted, and then, Dalton Simpler from in the Panhandle, he's really come along. He's got 3 years eligibility left. Travion Clayton transferred in from Southern Miss. He's been getting healthier and better. And Jacob Bruce, who's a redshirt freshman, really has a bright future for us. So, anytime you could mention 8 or 9 offensive linemen that you feel good about, we feel like there's some plus side to what we're doing there.